Here we go. Let me just make sure. That Substack has received this information. Okay, cool.
Hey, if you turn on captions, will the viewers see captions?
That's a good question. Where is caption? Let's see.
Actually, maybe we shouldn't turn it on because then when I'm editing, it'll be harder. Never mind.
It looks like, yes, it looks like they do see captions.
No, then yeah, turn it off because yeah, for the other thing,
Okay.
for the VOD.
Okay. All right. Well, welcome everybody. Let's see, I need to get in here and
Recording in progress.
I'm gonna watch this just in case everybody questions. Cool. All right. Well, howdy, folks. Welcome back to another beautiful Wednesday morning, evening, wherever you are, with your favorite tech people, Happy Tech, because everyone likes to be happy with tech. So today I'm going to be giving you lots of information about two-factor and how that works and why you might care, and hopefully enough information, but not more than you want, because that is something that I can also do. All right, so enough info. Anyway, so basically, two-factor was created as a security mechanism because what happens here, ooh, let's see. This is, you know what? I'm gonna make this a little bit bigger so I can actually get at this. Yes, cool. So let's say that this is you, okay? And you want to go to a website, which we're going to do. Ooh, man, here we go. We even got a little cloud. Bank. Okay, so when you want to talk to your bank, normally we have a little connection flow here, and we say, okay, can I put text on this? Yeah. Password. You do a username password flow, and you log in with your username and your password. And then what your bank does at that point is they actually send back to you a session token. And what that is not super important, but basically it's just kind of a unique number or alphanumeric characters that lets your bank know that, or whenever you go to your bank again, it lets your bank know that you're the same person. So first of all, I say, hey, here's my username, here's my password, here's who I am. But if I'm doing stuff with my bank, I'm gonna have to keep communicating with them over and over again. And I don't want to send my username and password every single time, because the more times you send your password over the air, as we call it, or through the internet, the more chances are that someone's going to be able to grab that, steal that, and become you, right? You don't want people to have your passwords. So when the bank gives
Hey,
that,
Rob,
yes.
can you start over actually because the drawing is covering your head.
Well, what I can
Move
do
it.
is I could probably move my head down a little bit.
Yeah, move your head. Yeah.
Oh, that is some of your
Also,
hair.
has anyone joined us? I can't
No,
see the chat for some reason.
just you.
Okay.
All right, let me just. Okay, so this looks good. Hopefully, a little bit
That's
better.
much better.
Okay,
Perfect.
so go over that again for posterity's sake and good visuals. Hey. So let's say that this is you and this is your bank, and you want to do some banking online, as one is wont to do when one has money. Let me know what that's like. I wouldn't know. So if you're going to go to your bank, you give them your username and your password. Oh, sometimes an email, sometimes a username. However, you say, okay, look, Mr. Bank, here's my username, here's my password. I am authorized to access this account. And the bank says, yes, you are. And the bank sends you back a session token. And what that is isn't super important. But basically, the session token is what you use with further communication with the bank. It's kind of like if, let's say, you went to the deli and you ordered a sandwich and they gave you a little ticket that said, hey, here's your ticket for your sandwich. The next time you come up and they say, hey, here's your sandwich, you would give them the ticket, and then they know that you're the person that ordered the sandwich. Very similar here. You give that bank your session ticket every time you do something new, like maybe you view an account, you make a transfer, and then they know that you are still the same person. Why do we need to do this? Well, because we don't want to send your password in the air over the internet with every request. That's bad security. And the first time, we kind of have to do it the first time, and we hope. Yes, that is actually a really good looking sandwich.
You're well,
That's a good looking
you're
sandwich.
welcome.
Anyway, um, I lost my train of thought. It's such a good sandwich. I'm hungry now. Um, anyway, the more times you send your password with a request, the better the chance that someone will be able to get a hold of it. Because internet encryption is not perfect. And so we're just hoping that if we restrict the number of times, you might say, well, couldn't someone get a hold of your session? Yes, they could. And you might have noticed your bank account times out its session after 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 45 minutes, that sort of thing. So that session is not what we would call a long-lived session. It ends. And that's kind of, for banks, there is, I think, a specific format they have to do for that. You may also, in some places, there's a thing you can check, remember me forever, or for 30 days. They're also actually saving your session, but it's what we call long-lived session. So it'll last for 30 days or a couple months, etc. So this is all well and good. But let's just say that at some point you log into your bank at Starbucks and someone is listening to that connection, which is a thing they can do. It's not as easy as it used to be, but it used to be very easy. And they grab a hold of that username and password. It's actually not super hard to get a hold of people's usernames in a lot of cases because we don't keep them as secure as our passwords. Or maybe your password is your dog's name and your birth date, which you shouldn't do, but you get a hold of it. Okay, so then now I've got, I want the shape again. Let's say here, this is the attacker, okay? Now they can also go to the bank in the same way, and they can use the same username and password. And when that happens, the bank says, sure, I know who you are, you're this person. And then they give them a token, a session token. And then this person now can become you. They can do whatever. They can go and make transfers into their account from your account, and you never see your money again.
The attacker is the dog.
The attacker is the dog. It's a very, very fluffy attacker. And we don't really want them to be able to do that. So how do we stop them? Well, at this point, they have your password. We just kind of assume that, like, this doesn't happen unless they get a hold of your username and password. So they have that data. That's bad. But there are two pieces of important modern security, and you'll see these in some way, shape, or form in every modern application. What you know and what you have. So what you know, username and password, that is something that you remember, or you don't remember it. I don't remember it either. You write it down in your password manager, and your password manager remembers it. But theoretically, that's something that you know. And wherever you go, you need to log into your bank from somewhere else, you'll still know that password. The second thing is something that you have. What is something that you have? Something that you have on you at all times. And this started out text messages, right? You probably have your cell phone on you. If you're anything like me, if you're standard millennial, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Gen whatever other gens they have, you've got your cell phone on you. If you don't have your cell phone, you're panicking, right?
I
Half your
believe
brain is gone.
it's Gen Z, Gen Alpha, and Jennifer.
Jennifer, Jennifer's always got her cell phone. I know she does. So what they said is, okay, well, the bank usually has your phone number, right? Like they just have your phone number for whatever reason. I've never known a bank that didn't know my phone number. I don't remember giving my phone number to a bank ever, but I'm sure it must have happened. So they said, well, look, the user is going to have their phone on them at all times, right? So what if we did what if we ask them, hey, we're going to send you a code, simple 6-digit code, right? And then you just enter it in this site here. And that way they know that whoever entered that code, whoever's logging in right now, has your phone. So it's either you or someone that you probably trust, right? Or, some scammer who's pretending to be your girlfriend in Jamaica. That also happens, but that's a whole other thing. So now the flow ends up looking a little different. I don't want this bar there. Let's put that there. So we still got the session. We still got the username and password. But instead of a session, they'll actually send to your phone. Do I have a little thing for phone? Yeah, let's put the phone here. Okay. There we go. And this is going to be your phone. Make this a little more phone shaped. Phone, as the French say. It's a French phone. All right. So now what's going to happen is instead of sending you a session immediately, they're going to send you what is called a two-factor code. And the reason that this is called a two-factor code is because it's that's actually perfect. That's actually even better. This is actually going to be a second factor of authentication. Your username and password is your first factor, but then there's a second factor. Now you then say, okay, you actually give them the same code back. And at that point, they know, okay, you are actually the user, so we're going to issue you with a session. I know there's a lot of lines on the screen, but this is actually, it's fairly complicated, the security. Now what happens when the attacker says, hey, I've got this username, I've got this password, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log into your bank. They log into the bank. Then the bank says, we sent you a code. And you get a text message saying, hey, you got a code. And a lot of banks actually put a nice little thing. If you did not request this code, well, then you probably should change your password because someone has your password. And the attacker goes, well, shoot, I don't have this code. I don't have the two-factor code at all. I can't do anything about this. I can't get past this. What they do at that point is they engage in social engineering. And social hacking, and that's why you hear so many news reports now of people getting scam calls. There was actually a streamer I used to watch. He got his Twitch account, not his Twitch, his Twitter account hacked because the person just kept sending. The other thing they'll do is sometimes you get a little pop up. Are you trying to log in? Yes or no, right? And he did what is possibly the dumbest thing you could do in that instance is that he got so overwhelmed with the text because the person was just spamming him. He finally said yes. Boom, they're in. They have his account, and they hacked his account and took over everything. Because what can happen here is as soon as they take over your account, they'll probably change your password. And a lot of times, especially let's say you have a major bank like Bank of America or Citibank, not to call those banks out for having bad security, their security's fine, but they're just well known. A hacker that knows that, they're going to have automation set up so that as soon as they actually get access to your account, they run an automation and just drains everything immediately. Like within 30 seconds.
I have a question.
Yes.
Can I try to tell you what you told us?
Sure.
Okay, so basically, this is me. I'm the green heart.
Yes.
And what the attacker puppy wants from me is my username and password.
Right.
And that is between me and my bank.
Yeah.
Okay, so my bank knows and I know, but the attacker doesn't know,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
Okay. So what okay. So when I'm trying to log into the bank, I will put in my username and password, and then the bank will send my phone a two-factor code.
Right.
And then once I get that phone, I mean that code, then I pop it into the bank's website and then they will let me in. And
Right.
all of that whole sequence is called a session.
Well, the session is what is generated as a result of that sequence. All of that sequence is what we would call authentication.
So this entire thing is called authentication.
Yeah.
Okay. And so this is just based on when you say two-factor code, is that like a text message or is that like when, there's Google Authenticator, there's like the Microsoft Authenticator, and there's like QR codes now, then there's like pass keys, and then Google also has its like sign in. So what do you mean?
So almost all of those, except for the Google sign in, are examples of what you have. So let's say that I send you a text message. I know that you have that phone number. Let's say that you've hooked up the process. If you have Google Authenticator on your phone, or Microsoft Authenticator, Salesforce Authenticator, or any of the others, the process of connecting that to your bank's website will establish that connection between something that can only happen on your phone. So again, that's
Okay,
a
so
only on
if
your
we're
phone.
looking here,
Hmm.
that would be this process and this process,
Yes, exactly.
right? These two?
Yeah.
So this is all controlled by a third party. So that means like not your bank and not me and not the phone.
It depends on what it is. If you're sending a text message, usually that is something that your bank just controls. They come up with a code, they send it to you. If you're talking about Google Authenticator, your bank will actually ask Google Authenticator. It'll go to it and say, hey, tell us the code that this user should be seeing on their phone right now.
Oh, okay. So here when it's going to the cell phone, it could be like the hardware of the phone if you have like a Pixel
Yeah.
or an Apple, and or it could be like the software of the phone if you have like a Samsung like Android. So then it would go through Google.
There's
So when you say phone, it's like the operating system or
the
just the actual phone?
authenticator itself, and I don't know this for sure, but my educated guess is that it very likely generates the code based on something unique to your phone and the timestamp. So based
How did
on
you figure that out?
because that's how I would do it if I had to build it from scratch. I have never built something like that, but just based off of my knowledge of these things, that's how I would do it. Because the bank and your phone always know what time it is. And there's actually a fairly complicated amount of mechanism to make sure that those two systems know exactly what time it is and they're on the same time. This is actually how web security also works. So the very fact that your phone was able to get to the bank at all means that it knows what time it is. So, and then your phone
Okay.
has some unique code that the bank will also get from that. Like when you scan that QR code, actually know what
Yeah.
it is because you're scanning the bank's QR code. So it's probably the bank that has the little unique piece.
Well, you lost me.
Okay. So basically, the bank, when you scan that QR code to set up the Authenticator app, part of
Yeah.
that code is tells your Authenticator app what, like some special information about the bank, some unique
So the
identifier about
code
that bank.
tells the I'm writing this down.
Yeah.
It tells the Authenticator app on my phone
Yeah.
something special about the bank.
Yeah. And so then what the bank will do when they need to validate your Authenticator code, rather than sending you a code,
Yeah.
they will actually go to the authenticator system and they will say, look, here's my little unique ID that I give to all the authenticator apps. Based on that,
Yeah.
what what would be the code that they should be seeing right now?
Okay.
And it's probably a little bit more complicated than that. I don't have never worked on this myself, so I'm just kind of spitballing, but it probably works something like that.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So in that case, actually, you wouldn't even have this error because your phone just generates that code and you send it to the bank directly.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah. Passkeys are a similar idea, except it's like the passkey is actually on your laptop or your desktop computer. Because the idea is that our computers at this point are kind of personal to us, and you're also warned don't do this on public computers like a library computer. That if you're doing this from your home laptop, probably only you and people you trust are accessing that laptop, which means that having possession of that laptop, if you can prove you have possession of that laptop, that's good enough for your bank to know that you're you.
Okay, but so you shouldn't set up a passkey to a public
No.
computer.
Because at that point, if someone knows your username and password, they can all that they can gain access to that library computer very easily and then tell your bank, hey, I have access to the computer this person used. I'm them. And the bank says, yeah, they said this was their computer, so you're clearly them.
Also, your logo is flipped again.
Oh no.
Okay, so that makes sense. So I still don't understand like what is the difference between like a pass key and like when I go into the authenticator app. Is it like the pass key is just eternal? Like it'll just eternally know that this is my phone forever and like I don't have to go into the authenticator app?
It's the passkey is essentially an authenticator app, but it's kind of more built into your computer or your phone. So it's a little bit more on the operating system level. For example, Chrome has passkeys in that you can use on like Mac OS, right? But those passkeys actually come from the operating system, and Chrome is just making use of them. So if you have like an Android passkey that you're using, that's coming from Android as opposed to Google Authenticator, which is a level up. So it's a little bit more secure because someone could theoretically hack one of those applications, and it's very unlikely, but they could hack an application and like get it to generate some keys that they know how to get. But that can't happen with your phone as easily because someone would actually have to install a chip in your phone, which would be a lot
Okay.
harder.
Wait, so I'm interested now. So like can you tell me like okay, show me where okay, like if I okay, no, what am I trying to say? What am I trying to say? Hold on. Ha 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 ha. Where
All right, what I'm
is
gonna
my
do is I'm actually gonna flip
Okay,
my.
so where are all the places that a hacker could freak you up? Like when the two like can they mess up the two-factor piece? Oh, why are you
Oh, we're good. I'm just flipping the camera.
Yeah, so like here, for example,
Yeah,
is that where they could mess someone up?
technically yes, and this is why text message or SMS based two-factor codes are not as popular anymore because text messages do not have any encryption on them. So with
Okay.
the advent of stingrays, and stingrays are basically kind of fake cell towers, that is a
Okay.
fake cell tower that goes in between you and the actual cell tower. And so what that does is when, let's say I'm the bank and I send you a text message with your code, the stingray will intercept that and it'll still transmit it onto
Okay.
you, but text messages are sent what we call in the clear, so they're not encrypted.
Okay.
Anyone who is reading the radio frequency can just read the text message.
Okay, because you lost me now with the stingray, so I'm
Okay.
putting it on the next thing. Let's not like I do want to talk about it because I think it's interesting, but
Mhm.
I am a little bit confused. So going back to this
Well, let's
exercise.
let's
So
go a little
here,
simpler. Basically,
well, can we do this
people
part
can
first?
read your text messages out of thin air if they know how to do it.
Okay, so that's this part, right?
It's more so that's in between the bank and the phone. So they will actually capture it as it's going to your phone.
Okay, got it.
And then they'll enter it themselves. So they'll have already. This assumes again they have your password, right?
Right.
But what they'll do is this is assume a very sophisticated attacker. They get your username, get your password. They would be positioned near to where your phone is
Okay.
physically. So they have to
So
actually do be
you mean they have
physically.
to be physically nearby?
They either have to be physically nearby or they have to be tapped into the cell network that you're a part of.
Okay, so how close physically?
It well depends. It depends. The cell towers are honestly can be pretty far away. So let's say I'm in San Francisco, right? They probably could be anywhere within like 3 to 4 miles of me.
Oh, that close.
You know, oh yeah, you have to be fairly like you have to be to make this work. You have to be on the same. Either the cell company has to be working with you, and in that case, you're hosed anyway, or you have to actually be on the same cell tower as the person.
Okay.
Um,
And also
yeah,
question, so wait, we did we figure out like what is session? Like which part of this is session? Is a
that's the
session?
end part. That's the final stage. Once everything has been authenticated and the bank believes that you are you, it gives you kind of like almost like a wristband that just says, yeah, you are this person. You can do whatever you want in here.
Okay, so that's after you have success and you're
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
then it's considered a session. And then that's why you were saying they they have timeouts. They have session timeouts.
Yep, because someone could steal that too, the same way they could steal your username and password.
Okay, so now why don't we use this for voting?
Well, there there's a lot of reasons.
We don't have to go into the politics of it, but could you share like technologically why it would not be secure? Like why is it secure enough for us to get into our bank accounts, but we can't use this for voting machines?
This is the voting machines, the actual machines that do voting, like not the paper ballots and stuff like that. They do something similar to this. So they have a similar. It's not necessarily a two-factor system because the voting machine is what we would call a controlled device. It's a device that you can do whatever you want to. So, like, let's say that I was trying to connect to you, like with your bank, right? And I'm your bank, and I'm just like, give me your phone. I could put something on your phone that I know I put on your phone, and your phone is the only way to get to the bank, and I wouldn't need a password at all. That's kind of how the voting machines work. So the voting machines themselves actually have something on them that the voting machine servers know that the company put there. So they don't
Can
need
you
this
draw this?
complicated
I'm getting
dance.
confused by what you're saying. Can we do another drawing for this?
Sure. Let me see. Can we? Oh, we can do another page.
Oh,
Oh,
you can also click the hand in the bottom right and then just drag it over.
oh, okay. That also would work.
Yeah.
So let's say here we have our voting machine, and here we have our server. Now I'm gonna use the cloud. I like the cloud. Okay, this is our voting server, and here is our vote machine.
I will
Okay.
get an image of a voting machine.
Okay. Basically, they have um this is how I believe they do it. They have encrypted their data because they know ahead of time. So this on here, there's an encryption key on here. Oops. I need
Okay.
to bring this
I'm
forward.
trying to follow along.
That's okay. So there's an encryption key on the voting server that the voting machine, the voting server can decrypt. This is actually how web servers work.
What is
Um,
an encryption key?
an encryption key, you know what? Actually, I can probably show you an example of that. Give me a sec. So this is an example of a public encryption key. And so this key, this series of information is enough. And what this is for is verification. Basically, and this is a public key. So this is safe for me to give out to anyone. If I give you the
Oh, so
private,
the key, sorry. So wait, can we go slower?
yeah.
So this is a key and this is just code.
This is essentially just a bunch of numbers, yeah. What it
Okay.
does,
So
I give
go
this
ahead.
to other people. And then I have another key that's the private key. And the private key is what I use to encrypt or sign my data. Okay? And this is kind of this particular key is not actually used for that purpose, so it's a little more confusing. But essentially, if you have the key and I've encrypted that key on the voting machine, with that key, it looks something like that. The voting server has the same key, so it can decrypt the data. It also has identity keys so that it knows that that specific voting machine sent that data. And so if I'm an attacker and I get into that data, not only is that data encrypted, which I have to decrypt, or if I'm trying to fake out the voting server, I have to know the voting server's encryption key, which is a very closely guarded secret. And they rotate them too, so they change them. And I also have to know the identity key of that voting machine. Oftentimes that is actually in the encoded in the hardware. So that what they do for these voting machines is they will actually go and they'll swap out a chip to change the encryption keys, which is expensive, but it has to be very secure. So you notice there's no two-factor here because we don't need two-factor. And that's because both the server and the machine were both under the control of the voting company at some point, the voting
Right,
machine
but
company.
okay, and leaving politics out of this
Yeah.
completely, is doesn't it make more sense to do like a two-factor situation though? Because if it is linked to your cell phone, right, which is linked to your identity, I mean, there are
Mhm.
a lot of different ways to get your true identity on your cell phone, or have different verification systems. For example, even when I've logged into Social Security,
Mhm.
they already know my cell phone. I literally sent them a selfie of
Right.
myself,
Right.
and they knew it was me. So I was like, okay, I can already access all of my Social Security information using a two-factor-ish system that
Mhm.
they have set up. And I was wondering, I was like, well, why can't we do this for voting? And wouldn't this like be more secure in some ways because it has like quote unquote like a session? Because what you're describing here doesn't really have a session, it's perpetual, right? Or did
As
I
a perpetual
misunderstand?
session, yeah. So what you're talking about, I think, is not necessarily like, oh, I have to go to a specific place and push buttons on the voting machine. It's more, I download an app onto my phone. I create an account with vote.org and I put my vote into my phone, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there is no technical reason why that wouldn't work.
Oh, cool. We've solved the
Yeah.
billions of dollar problem.
What it would
Anyway,
do, and this is the only thing I'll say on it, is it would make it very easy to vote.
got it. All right. I think there are some new people who joined. If you're here, just let us
Hey,
know in the
Grace.
chat.
Good to see you. But yeah, so, oops, I'm going to
Oh
go.
wait, Grace is here. Rob, for some reason I can't see the chat, like on
Uh,
the screen that I'm running it on.
oh, I don't know why. I see that you're in the chat.
That's fascinating. Yeah, like on the browser, yeah, I can't seem to see like the chat, which is very
Yeah.
interesting. Okay.
But yeah,
Fascinating.
so
The
back to this page.
browser.
Um, if you might have also seen, and this is getting much more popular recently, companies that don't even have you enter a password. They're just like, yeah, we have your email. We verified your email. And so then you go to log in and they say, we sent you a code to your email. Now, behind the scenes, we call this magic login, but essentially it's the same thing as the two-factor code. But what they've realized is they've said, look, if we know that if the user has access to this email or this laptop or this phone, we know they're them, right? Why should we even bother asking them for a password? Like, just ask them for the username or their email, and then we know that if they have access to this email, they're them. So we just ask them for the email, and we're gonna ask them for a two-factor anyway. So in a lot of more modern systems, they don't even ask for a password. In fact, Slack systems, if you are a member on a workspace that has two-factor enabled, in a lot of cases, you don't even need to enter a password. Like you,
Yeah, actually this happened to me. I was trying to log into something and they said we'll email you
yeah,
a link and just click on
yep,
that and they emailed it and I clicked and I went in. And
yep,
it was in some ways easier and then in other ways I was like, but I'm already in this page and I know it's such a minor thing just clicking, right? But for some reason there's the mental resistance around it. But it was cool because I didn't have to remember my password to that
yep.
website. I think it was Clio. Um, I'm trying to remember the platform. Anyway, so that can be really helpful for people like me who forget their passwords and have to use a password manager. And I was also thinking we could go into that a little bit, unless
Yeah.
does the chat have any questions?
Yeah, and that's what we are calling passwordless login at this point.
Oh, by the way, you're sharing the other screen. You're sharing the original
I
puppy
know.
screen, not the voting machine screen.
I know.
Okay.
I went back to it on purpose. So, one little branch off of this that can be kind of interesting is when you get backup codes. And almost every place that sets up 2FAs, they say, here are your backup codes. Don't lose these. And then you probably immediately lost them. What are those? What are those for? Well, let's say you have to get a new phone and you're not using SMS based two factor, you actually are using Google Authenticator and you didn't set up Google Authenticator to back up your authentication codes, which you can actually do. And I would recommend it. So now you go to log into your bank and they say, hey, give us the code from your Authenticator app. And you open your Authenticator app and you realize, oh no, I don't have that setup anymore. I don't have that key. because I got a brand new phone. And the old phone I gave to Verizon because they were giving me a deal, and I could have gotten this new iPhone 5000 for only $400 a month for the next 2 years, and that was only if I gave them my old phone. So I gave them my old phone because otherwise it would have been $403 a month, and I love the deal. So now you got a new phone and you don't have access to your old phone. This is why you should honestly hold on to your old phones just for stuff like this. Now, what do? Well, you can't get into your account. There's actually no way because there's no way to prove that you're you. The only thing you can do actually is you call up customer service and they go through the whole form of validating your ID as well. And they have ways of doing that, like security codes and questions and all that stuff. The thing is, they have to ask those questions. You can't actually, in most systems, you can't bypass 2FA by knowing your security questions. And then they let you into the account and they'll like disable this stuff, right? They'll disable the two-factor temporarily, or they'll give you like a temporary code. That's what the backup codes are actually for. So when you enter this two-factor code, your bank will actually, they'll go and they'll compare it to either the code that they sent you or the code that is generated by the Authenticator app, but they'll also check it against your backup codes. And if it is a backup code, they'll let you in, but they'll burn that code. You can never use that code again. So that's why they give you 10 usually, because in most people's lifetime of having an account, unless you are very accident prone with your devices, you probably actually won't go through that many codes. Or if you do, you can just regenerate them. But that's the whole point of the backup code, is in case you lose that proof of you. And you might say, well, doesn't that make it insecure? Sure, yeah. If someone gets a hold of your backup code, they can still become you. That is absolutely true, which is why you should treat your backup codes like passwords. You should treat them very carefully, and that's why I recommend you put them in LastPass. This actually happened to me. So my phone broke because I don't normally, if I get a new phone, I keep the old one for this exact reason. My phone broke in a way that they said they couldn't repair it, so I had to get a new phone. And when I got that new phone, I realized I couldn't log in anything anymore. And I hadn't saved my backup codes. Because I'm like, oh, backup codes, I don't need backup codes, whatever. I had like 25 different two-factor authentications on there. It was actually a problem. And so what I had to do is there were a couple places I actually had to send them emails and prove that I was me. And I did that a lot of times, but like, here was the credit card that made the last transaction on this account. I still have the details. What if I didn't have that credit card anymore? What if I didn't remember it? What if I didn't remember what card I used? What if I didn't remember the purchase? So it's actually a lot harder if you don't have those backup codes. And that's why they recommend that you really hold on to those.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I learned a lot from this because I've been confused about some things. I feel like next time we should also go a little bit deeper into passkeys. Or maybe I can like set up my passkey live. I feel like that's a really bad idea.
That might
But
not be a terrible idea. I don't actually know that much about passkeys except that they're like kind of a hardware level. What I used to have is what we call a YubiKey. And it's a little USB device about this big, tiny little device. And what you did is you stick it into your hardware and you basically caress it lovingly. I'm not even joking. That's what you had to do. And it would generate a random string of characters. What's that? It's just a complicated two-factor code. And your bank would have on the other end the ability to figure out what that code should be. And it was, again, based on some little chip in the hardware and also etc. So that is actually kind of going out of style now because most computers actually and phones have a little chip inside them that can do the same thing. So I don't remember exactly when it happened, but I know most modern computers and computing devices ship with the capability of generating this sort of thing themselves. And that's actually a hardened chip because let's say that someone steals your phone and you say, hey, phone, go ahead and put yourself on lockdown because my phone's been stolen. You don't want that person to be able to generate two-factor codes for you. You don't want them to be able to use that key code, right? So there is some hardware hardening on those devices to make sure that chip can't be messed with. That's why actually people pay a lot of money for known vulnerabilities in two-factor systems. To be fair, though, if you get targeted by a nation state, Like, let's say that the FBI wants to access your bank account, and for some reason they can't just go to the bank. They're gonna get to your bank account. Like that's it's they have a lot of tools for this sort of thing. One of the things they'll do is they'll just take your phone and they'll freeze it, like actually freeze it. And the reason I love this stuff because it's so fucking weird. They will actually scan the chips on your phone and try to figure out, and they know kind of what these chips look like, but they'll try to figure out what was in your phone's memory before they froze it, and they'll duplicate that into a virtual phone. And so that way, because your phone has this lockout, right? And it'll break stuff if you tamper with it too much. And like the chip, sometimes even if you tamper with the chip too much, it'll fry itself. A virtual phone will not do that, or they can just reset it if it does. So they actually try to get virtual scans of your chips at this point, which I don't even know how they do that. And I think it's pretty cool. It's also a little terrifying that that's possible, but I think it's pretty cool.
Thanks for that, Rob. I'm like thinking about that whole thing.
Oops. Sorry. Oh boy. Hold on. My whole. Oh, did I lose the recording? Nope. There it's back. But I did lose my screen. Sorry, my screen just totally twigged out. I know, it's kind of creepy, huh? All right, I think that is something is back anyway. I'm on the wrong camera. Okay, well, I guess I'm going to be on that camera now because the other camera didn't want to cooperate. I'm hoping the stream comes back because it seems like it died and didn't. It looks like it looks like it's dead. That's unfortunate. I still see that it's streaming. Like OBS is still streaming. Oh, I hear myself. The video's stuck. Oh, that's OBS. OBS is broken. Okay, let's try this. Can we? Okay, let's try this. No, that's still stuck. Great. Great, great, great. Let me make a new capture. I'll just pop that in there. Display capture. Sorry, I'm having to fix this on the fly now. There we go. All right. That should catch up in a minute.
Okay.
So yeah, there we go. Okay, it's back.
Great. So can I share screen because I want to show
Yeah.
and let me know when it's
Oh yeah, go for it. You're good.
shareable because I have to.
I'll end the whiteboard.
There we go. Okay. So I'm just gonna share this support ticket thing from Google. Give me 1 second. I'll just share this window. Is it framed right in the live?
I will in a second. Oh my
Okay.
goodness. Wait. Okay. And all right, you're good. Your friend.
Oh, okay, great. Hold on, let me hide this. Okay, so oops. There's so much set up with everything.
You
Oh
can
my
tell we're
gosh.
tech professionals. Like we really.
Oh God. All right, whale. So if I make this a little wider, what's gonna happen? Is that gonna
I
work?
can make it wider if you want. Oh no, actually I
Oh,
can't.
okay, that's fine. I don't know if people can read it, but it's okay. We'll go into this. So this is my update from the Google Workspace nightmare that we've been trying to solve for a freaking month for one of our clients. And I wanted to give an update because you may not know this, but Google Workspace has live chat support with a human. Okay. And that is who I got in touch with. I think it was last week. And she called me. She called me an hour and a half late, but it's okay. I got a call. I got in touch with a human, and then she We had a conversation, and she sent me this entire summary of what to do, which was really helpful. And I sent it over to our client. We had another meeting with the client so that they could get established with everything, and we were able to make progress. And today we got another email confirming that like the process that we're doing is all working really well, and we're moving forward. And it literally took us a month to get to this point because the email that we were supposed to receive originally when we went through this exact form did not come through the way that we were expecting it to come through. And this time, I think because it was flagged and I had the conversation and everything, maybe that like put it in some other like flow for customer service. So that this is the main thing that I want to get across is that you have access if you have a Google Workspace account that is like paid, you have access to this chat support and you can find it in your workspace and you can get in touch with an actual live human at Google. They will take you through the AI chat first, but then you can go through that and then request to be connected with a human. And I had to be really persistent when I was trying to get them to call me and say, like, can somebody please call me? Can I please have a conversation with somebody about this? So just keep that in mind. If you do have a business, this is something that could be really helpful and useful for you in the future. And if you have any issues with any of this, just let us know, comment or email us or whatever to get in touch. But this is possible. And a lot of people, I think, just don't know about this. And I'm trying to get the word out about it. Anything else I should add, Rob?
No, I was just really happy it worked this time. I think it timing was really critical here. Like basically at oh, I'm looking at myself. At I'll just turn and face the camera. Oh, hello camera. Second screen camera. At some point when we tried this before, the client said, "Oh, I got this email." We said, "Okay, let's schedule some time for us to meet and go through the next steps." And I think that was the issue because once they got the email, we realized later on they had 3 days to finish what they needed to finish, and the meeting we scheduled was later in 3 days. So this time we told them, okay, here's what you have to do, and they did an excellent job getting through it. But that's where we got the hey, we're successful, we did this, this is good. So looking forward to that. But yeah, this part of Google, the domain transfer and that whole system is really wonky. And I really get the feeling they don't expect a lot of people to have to deal with it. And so they don't really, I don't think they really put a lot of effort into it. But it's really, it's not bad, but like it's not Google standard. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. It's been kind of a wild goose chase with this whole thing. Um, yeah, and so that is kind of where we're at today. I wanted to also share one post, which is a little AI related. We're not going to like go too much into AI tonight, but if you are interested in that, let us know and we can talk about AI in the future. Oops. Okay. So this is Talon John Simmons, who I have been reading a little bit on Substack, which is where we're streaming this. So here's what he says. Don't write with AI, write assisted by AI. AI can come up with ideas, you decide which are worth writing. AI can research, you fact check. AI can give feedback, you choose what to keep. You think, you write, you read, you write, and you lead. You bring the perspective, the taste, and the truth that no machine can. AI saves you time, not so you can write less, but so you can write more, write better, and write more you. And so I really want to kind of just share an example here from an ad we were running. So let me load that up. Okay, never mind. Meta is making it really difficult for me to get into the business suite, and I don't know why, because I was literally in there earlier today. But we had an ad that we ran last week on Facebook, Meta, and one of the ads had a CTR link click-through rate of 1.37%, which is like a good place that you want to be. You want to be like above 2%. That way you know that like you're really figuring out exactly what people need and you're, creating everything correctly in the ad. So after I did that, I put it through the custom GPT for the ad teacher that I follow and whose stuff I've been following. And I followed all of those steps, and what happened actually is my CTR dropped to 0.37 from 1.37. Okay, CTR is click-through rate. So that should show you that you like blindly following the AI. Oops. Blindly following AI is not guaranteed to work. It still requires context, critical thinking, and planning and strategizing and understanding like your instinct and your intuition and knowing what to take from what the AI is sharing and what to leave behind. And it's very clear when people don't do that, whether it's like written content, video content, just different things. Like it is really clear to others that like, okay, they just, popped this in here and didn't really do any sort of like I want to say like post processing on it,
Mhm.
okay? Which is something that you really want to do because it just adds more polish and um it just makes you more trustworthy, right? If you're just it's kind of like copying, okay? So like imagine you're in school, which if you are, I'm very sorry. But if you were in school and you just copied somebody's essay and turned it in, and that essay won a contest or somehow they nominated it for something, and then you have to get up there and suddenly talk about the essay, you're gonna have no freaking clue. You're gonna have no freaking clue, okay, what that is. You need to understand what is actually in there. And even if you use AI, so this goes into like a little bit of social psychology and just like communication stuff. You may be saying everything perfectly and you may be communicating perfectly, but the other person may not be comprehending what you're saying. That is you and AI. AI can be giving you all of this information. And if you have no capacity for understanding how to comprehend what you're reading, that is still going to work against you. So I would really encourage people to continue to hone our critical thinking skills because those are actually declining because of the use of AI. And it's a real problem because it leads to things like dementia in the future, okay, like brain atrophy. So it's also better for your health to be a critical thinker, not to be self-critical, but to be a critical thinker in terms of how you're using the resources that you have. And look at AI as like money. Look at it as like a home or some sort of thing that you have access to. Look at it as like your body, right? Like there is maintenance, there's like thinking, strategizing, planning that you have to do for all of these things. So they are thriving at those levels. And if you are using it and integrating it into your workflows, that's great. But it is really important to understand that you're still in charge and it cannot do the work for you and it cannot just like completely take over for you. And if it does, your work might suck, which is what happened to me. I literally did worse when I just listened to the AI for the ad. So it's very important to bring in that human touch to things. Yeah, so that's it for me. We're at 6:53. If there are no other questions, we can probably end. Or Rob, did you want to add anything?
I think yeah, it's I at work now use an AI to do a lot of the work, but I verify everything it does. And I only was comfortable getting to that point once I understood enough about the job to verify it. And so like I tell a lot of my students that are asking about AI for code generation, say never ask the AI to do something you don't know how to do yourself. And it's not like never ask the AI to do something that you literally like right now. For example, if I go to ask the AI some question about how to do my taxes, I don't know how to do that off the top of my head. That's why I'm asking the AI. But I'm also going to go check its answer and make sure that actually makes sense. So you don't want to trust it with things that you don't understand because then it also doesn't understand. And so then nobody understands, and that's just a bad situation. So make sure at least one of you understands, and I promise you it's not the AI. It's got to be you.
Perfect. I think we can end on that note. Thank you to everyone who joined us, and we will be back here next Wednesday, the 26th at 6 p.m. Eastern.
All right. Have a good one, folks. Thanks, Thanksgiving Eve. We'll see you then.